Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We're just going to give it one more minute to let everybody fill in, and we shall get our webinar started soon. All right, everyone, and we are going to go ahead and get started just with a few housekeeping norms. Just keep in mind, if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A below. Also, the U.S. Small Business Administration does not endorse Public-Private Strategies Institute, and this session is being live streamed and recorded. Finally, please don't share any personal information in the Q&A function. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Rhett Buttle, who is the president of Public-Private Strategies Institute.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sydney. And as always, thanks to the whole team at the U.S. Small Business Administration and the Public-Private Strategies Institute, who work so hard every 2 weeks to make this ongoing webinar series available to small business owners and leaders around the country. And throughout the past few months, we've been able to be joined by hundreds, even thousands of small business owners from across the country to get relevant updates about important updates that we hope will help your small businesses grow and recover more equitably in this moment. Today, we are so thrilled to be joined by a set of amazing partners, both from SCORE, but also from our ongoing partners at the U.S. Small Business Administration to hear a little bit about National Small Business Week. And so with that, I'm really excited to go ahead and hop into the program. Today, what we're going to do is we'll do a few things. We'll really talk about the Building Better America series. And of course, as part of this, a few pieces that we want to highlight is we want to talk about many of the important programs that are going on at the U.S. Small Business Administration. We also want to give some updates regarding recent programs and policy announcements, including updates on the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan, and the Made in America initiative. And then lastly, we'll hear important updates on timely policy issues. And so it's a lot to cover in 45 minutes to an hour, but we thank you for being here with us. And with that, let's go ahead and kick things over. As I talked about, we'll hear from Morning Washington, who's the Director of Strategic Alliances at the U.S. Small Business Administration. We're also going to hear from Betsy, who leads External Relations at SCORE. And then also, we are so fortunate to be joined by Lorinda as well, who's going to share her important perspective. So we're excited about the conversation today, and it's now my pleasure to kick the conversation over to someone who, without her leadership, none of this would happen. She's been working hard on National Small Business Week, as well as leads many partnerships across the U.S. Small Business Administration. And we're so fortunate to be joined today by Morning Washburn, who's the Director of Strategic Alliances at the U.S. Small Business Administration, to get an update on National Small Business Week. So with that, Morning, it's my pleasure to hand the conversation over to you.
Well, hello, thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I'm so happy to have a few minutes to talk to you about National Small Business Week, which is one of my big activities every year. So let's go forward. All right. So National Small Business Week has been one of SBA's cornerstone events. It has been SBA's cornerstone event for over 50 years, and it's had a lot of different forms taken place at a lot of different times each year, but it really serves as an opportunity to uplift and honor American small businesses. So we're so excited that post-COVID, we are returning to a normal timeframe. National Small Business Week is typically held in May, and we are returning to May. So this year it'll be May 1st through 7th. And our theme this year is Building a Better America Through Entrepreneurship, which celebrates the resiliency, tenacity of America's small entrepreneurs who are doing their part to power our nation's historic economic comeback. Can we go to the next one? Perfect. Typically, National Small Business Week has a number of activities. One of the main ones in the past few years has been our virtual summit, and we'll again have that event. We also typically have a winners event. Pre-COVID, it was actually in Washington, D.C. This year, it will be virtual again, and we will return to having city visits by the administrator. So we're very excited to do that after 2 years. We also typically have field office events, and we have almost 70 field offices, and many of those offices will have events during National Small Business Week. This year, we're also lucky enough to have a bus tour as part of National Small Business Week, and so that will be a great addition. We go to the next slide. All right, so let's talk about the virtual component first. The virtual summit this year will be May 2nd through 4th. It is being co-hosted with SCORE, and in addition, we have 16 co-sponsors for this event. We're very excited. We're very thankful to all of our co-sponsors for helping support this event and participating in the event. In addition, we'll have 10 government agencies who will participate in National Small Business Week. On the 4th day of this summit, we will actually have the winter celebration, so that'll be a great addition. And this year's summit, as in the past, will feature a number of great resources. So one is federal resources for you'll actually get to meet the federal agencies, but also you'll find additional information about federal resources there. There will be educational workshops, both from SBA program offices, but also from our co-sponsors. And there are a large number of networking opportunities that you'll find there. As always, or as not always, but largely, government events are free, and this is no different. So registration is required though, so please make sure you register. And just so you're aware, since I know many small businesses will be very busy during the day and may not have opportunities to participate in the virtual summit, they can always register and go on and see the videos that have already played. So feel free to register and attend when it works for you. Please know also that post-event, all of the videos will be uploaded to YouTube, so they'll be available there as well. Can we go to the next slide? All right, as I mentioned, we'll also have the bus tour. This year, the bus tour will go across the entire National Small Business Week, so the 1st through the 7th. And the tour stops are expected to be at this point. We're very excited. San Francisco, Denver, Atlanta, Augusta, Columbia, Richburg, Charlotte, Raleigh, and Norfolk, so across the United States. Can we go to the next slide? All right, so to learn more about any of our events, so the summit, our city visits, to get collateral, so social media or additional content, please visit our website. Oh, this is also where you'll register. So it's www.sba.gov/NSBW. So that's a little bit long, might be hard to remember, but really, if you go into your search engine and you type SBA and NSBW, it will pop up. So next slide. All right, so obviously a great way to be involved is to register and to share information about registration. But if you'd like to amplify the event or our work, please, these are 3 great ways. So the first way is social media. So if you want to help spread the word about the importance of small businesses, use the tag Small Business Week in your social media posts. You can obviously, as I mentioned, visit our website and find content there, or create your own content to highlight National Small Business Week. Go to the next slide. All right, a second way, a great way, is to have your own events, in-person and digital events, and to uplift the local small businesses in your area. So those are roundtables, panels, educational webinars, local networking receptions, social media and virtual events, like Twitter and IG events, but also just calling your other local small businesses together and having discussions and talking about your needs or resources can be a great way to participate. Can we go to the next slide? All right, and the final way to do amplification is to issue, if possible, issue a press statement highlighting National Small Business Week and showing your support of small businesses in your area. We would love for you to be part of the conversation. And obviously, if you issue a statement, please flag that for us so we can track and amplify where it's possible. Go to the next slide. All right. Oh, I think I just was alerted that my video is not on, so please forgive me for not having a video. All right, so to recap, National Small Business Week is May 1st through 7th, and that will include, that is all of our activities. The virtual summit is May 2nd through 5th. So that includes both the summit, which is the educational piece and the networking piece, as well as our winners event. And 3 great ways to amplify is to take our content or to create your own content on social media and include our tag, hosting your own event, getting together with other small businesses, or issuing a press release. So I'd love to take any additional questions you might have.
Wonderful. Well, we had a few questions come in during the chat morning, and I know you have places to be given that things are moving really quickly, but I think what we wanted to do is I will try to consolidate some of what we see going into the chat. So I think, first you mentioned the bus tour. In addition to that, and maybe just re-highlighting that, what else can small businesses sort of expect to see across the country in terms of events?
Well, there's really all manner of events. So obviously SBA has their own events and the local offices will have their own events. That can be anything from award ceremony to educational talks, networking events. It's really wide range. But in addition to that, many local organizations and small businesses have their own National Small Business Week events. So there's a wide range of activities. If you want to learn more about local events, SBA local events, if you visit our website, the SBA National Small Business Week website, there is actually a place where you can look up local events.
Super helpful. And we have, sort of varying constituencies on this call, small business organization leaders, small business owners. Are there different ways for those sort of different folks who wear those different hats to get involved? And what is the best way for each of those folks to get involved? I know you highlighted some social and press releases. Thoughts for folks who are thinking about it sort of with the different hats they wear?
Well, I think the big thing is just making sure that everyone is aware of the resources available from SBA. So obviously we're talking about National Small Business Week right now, but SBA, as well as many other organizations, has resources and activities throughout the year. So please share information about National Small Business Week by asking people to register, by sharing information about individual events. But I think it's also important to realize that we have events throughout the year. We have resources for small businesses across the country. And, obviously, since I'm here, there's always ways to work together with SBA. Obviously, have a subject matter expert attend one of your events and share information, or there's also ways to collaborate and have joint events with organizations. And we're happy to talk about that and participate in those.
Super helpful to know. And I just think the last piece is, so obviously an amazing set of events happening, across the country. What is the best way for people to sort of be engaged virtually and get an understanding of all the virtual options?
Well, I think the first place to visit is our website. So please make sure that you take a look at the National Small Business Week, the SBA National Small Business Week website. And then obviously, if you're following us on your social media accounts, it's another great way to hear about what's happening and what's available, as well as our resources.
Awesome. So with that, I think we're going to say thank you so much, Morning, for joining us and giving us this amazing overview of everything that's going on. We're super excited. I think everyone on this call is cheering you on as we lead into National Small Business Week next week, and appreciate you carving out a little bit of time before the big crescendo. And we're going to go ahead and pivot on to the next part of this webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Morning. Thank you so much. And as part of this webinar, we always try to highlight community partners who are doing amazing work. And there couldn't be a better partner than the folks at SCORE, who are also helping to lead the way during National Small Business Week. And so I know that Betsy will talk a little bit about that. But Betsy, it's my extreme pleasure to turn the conversation over to you. For those of you who don't know Betsy, she leads external relations at SCORE, and SCORE is such a critical, important resource partner for the U.S. Small Business Administration. As many of you know, they provide free business mentoring and education throughout the whole country, and they have an amazing network of about 10,000 experienced volunteers who help them do this work every day. So with that, Betsy, I will be quiet and turn it over to you and let you give us an update. So over to the amazing team at SCORE.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rhett. And if we could head over to that next slide, I'll just give everyone a little bit of background on SCORE. Rhett, you did an amazing job setting it up, but just for additional context, since I know there are a lot of people who actually have never heard of SCORE, as Rhett said, we are the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors. We are a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, founded all the way back in 1964. And our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities all across the U.S. through mentoring and education. Since our founding, we have served over 11 million entrepreneurs by helping them to start new businesses, to grow existing businesses, and in recent years, a lot of troubleshooting problems with their small businesses. At the end of the day, we really believe and know in our hearts that our clients' success is our success. So if you take one thing away from the SCORE presentation today, I hope it's that you know that as a small business owner, you don't have to do this alone, that there are people all across the country, a lot of experience, who are just ready and waiting to help you with whatever your small business challenges might be. Next slide, please. Thank you. So SCORE's core services are mentoring, business training, and business resources. Our mentoring is offered in person and online. It is always free and always confidential, and it's customized for the individual needs that are unique to every business owner. We also offer a wealth of business training that is either low cost or no cost to you. And that comes in the form of educational workshops, personal development seminars, and networking all across the country with other business owners in your industry or area. And then finally, our business resources. We offer hundreds of free resources online, including weekly webinars, news articles and blogs about what's going on in the American small business landscape, the latest challenges and ways that we can respond, and then a variety of templates and tools that you can download and use today to help your business overcome challenges and grow and thrive. So all of these wonderful resources, trainings, and even access to our mentoring can be reached through our website, which is score.org. That is the hub for all of this information. So that's a little bit about what SCORE does, but at SCORE, we measure outcomes as well as outputs. So what is the impact of all this great work? How are we helping people? And the answer is that last year alone, SCORE's volunteers helped to start over 25,000 new small businesses here in the US. Those small businesses in turn created over 70,000 new non-owner jobs for the American economy. And as a result of all this great work, 77% of the small business owners who work with SCORE stayed in business, which in a year as challenging as the one that business owners have just had, I think that metric is really one of our most important in showing that our mentoring works and that we're here to help small businesses succeed. So now I'm just going to spotlight a couple of our major programs and initiatives that are running right now that I'm sure business owners want to hear about and can really take advantage of. The first is our Small Business Resilience Hub. This is SCORE's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it is a centralized hub, again, available through our main website, score.org. And it centralizes mentoring, education, and resources, including partner funding resources and government funding opportunities through SBA and other agencies, all in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the unique ways that that has really challenged business owners like never before. So in this hub, you'll find things like information on how to pivot operations, ways to rework your marketing plan, answers to our most frequently asked questions about employee and personnel issues, really a little bit of everything that you will need to continue adapting to this changing situation. And we're proud to say that we've helped over 900,000 small business owners in this hub so far, and that number continues to grow every day. So please do check it out. We are also really focused right now as an organization on an initiative called SCORE for All. SCORE for All came out of our belief that absolutely anyone can start a small business if they just have the right support. And we know that the road to business ownership is more challenging for some business owners than others. So in the Score for All Hub, we are looking at diverse backgrounds of entrepreneurs who have unique voices, unique needs that sometimes call for specialized resources and a very personalized approach to mentoring. So we currently have hubs built for the Black entrepreneurship community, the Hispanic entrepreneurship community, women entrepreneurs, and veteran entrepreneurs. And I am happy to announce that next month, in honor of National AAPI Month, we will be launching our hub for Asian American and Pacific Islander entrepreneurs. And a couple months after that, we will be launching a hub for rural entrepreneurs. So we're continually adding to these hubs, which really do concentrate and specialize resources, including funding opportunities. So again, that can be accessed through that main website, score.org. So that's a little bit about the work that we do at SCORE. And I couldn't go any further without talking about the people who are doing this incredible work. So as I said earlier, SCORE is a national volunteer corps. All of our mentoring and education is done by volunteers from all across the US. These are experienced business people and entrepreneurs. Some are executives and entrepreneurs themselves. Some are retired. It's about half and half. And they come from all across the US with a real diversity of background in terms of areas of industry, race, ethnicity. We really do have representation from all communities across the US. And these here are just two of those 10,000 amazing volunteers. So our first mentor that I wanted to virtually introduce you to is Chuni Sudana. Chuni works out on the West Coast out of Fresno, California. And she's really interesting because she came to SCORE as a SCORE client when her family restaurant needed some help. And she approached us for mentoring and advice and was so impressed by the quality of the mentoring that she received at SCORE that she actually became a SCORE mentor herself. And because she had launched her own career at Google, she now mentors clients on web design, marketing, and social media. And on the right, we have Karen Williams. She is local to our Washington, D.C. chapter here where I am located. She worked for many years at Northrop Grumman and is now using that experience to mentor SCORE clients on federal procurement opportunities and how to secure those federal contracts. So that's just two of our amazing mentors. I know we have other SCORE mentors on the call today. So hello to you all. It is great to see you. And now we will move from our mentors to our clients. I am thrilled to introduce one of our SCORE clients to you all. Her name is Lorinda Gonzalez, and you will hear from her in just a moment. But just to give you a little bit of introduction to her valuable work. She is a self-proclaimed grant funding guru, and she is the owner of Grants, Inc., which is located in Miami, Florida. Lorinda has a master's in communications and more than 10 years of grant writing experience, which she has used to secure more than $18 million in awarded funds from the government, local, and private funders. She brings a strategic perspective to acquiring funding, and to date has taught more than 100 workshops on funding to her clients. So she's continually seeking new opportunities to learn the latest trends, and she is passing those on to her clients every day and doing valuable work for them. So Lorinda, if you wouldn't mind hopping on and saying a few words about your business and your work with SCORE.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Betsy, and thank you everyone for having me today. It's really an honor to be able to share my experience specifically with SCORE. So I actually started working with SCORE back when I was about 20 years old. I was a student at the local university and I was studying business, and I had this idea of becoming an entrepreneur. Not that I knew exactly what that was at that point in time, but I knew I wanted to kind of do my own thing versus having a traditional 9-to-5 job. That just is what fit me. And I would ask my professors, you know, how do I do this? What do I do? And I got no guidance. I actually had a lot of negative opinions saying that that wasn't a good idea, that a better career choice would be to become an employee and such. So in my own development and trying to figure out what it meant to be an entrepreneur, I came across a workshop, SCORE workshop. I believe it was a financial workshop or starting your business, something along those lines. And again, this is many, many years ago. I actually took a very long bus ride, almost 2 hours to get to this workshop. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made because I learned so much within that 2-hour workshop. I had like some light at the end of the tunnel, because I started to get information that I needed, that being an entrepreneur was in fact a viable option. So what I did was I continued to take lots and lots of workshops. I got connected with my first mentor, who mentored me for many years after, helped me start the business, helped me develop the business plan, and helped to hone in my individual skill sets and the things that I was passionate about to turn it into a business. So that was about 15 years ago now. So we're talking a very, very long time. I had that one mentor, and then now fast forward, I have 2 mentors now here that are in Miami who have helped me significantly on the actual development and growth of the business. So I was able to have a mentor in the beginning to help me figure it out and kind of hash out my ideas. And then I transitioned to a mentor now, 2 mentors now, who help me with things like human resources, finances. I was doing things old school for a long time and having the books on paper. They helped me transition to QuickBooks. And as the business grows and as things change, they're there to support me. So now, again, 15 years later, I still meet with my mentors at least once a month. Whenever I need them, I have a specific question or a specific concern that comes up, I can always reach out to them by email or by text message, and they're able to give me real-time integral information I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And this is information that even as a business student in undergrad, I was not receiving from traditional university. And again, not to downgrade the university, it was a wonderful program, but I wasn't getting that information that I needed in order to be an entrepreneur. So now I've been in Miami now about 7-8 years. I ended up now becoming a mentor myself. I do more workshops than actual mentorship, but it's kind of like the other mentor you mentioned before. The programming is so well developed. It's so supportive to a person who's chosen or thinks they want to choose the entrepreneurship route. It's so important. So I'm really grateful that I can now give back myself and teach workshops. So a lot of those workshops that were mentioned, quite a bit of them have actually been for SCORE, to teach things about grant writing, about strategy development, things of that nature that help to support nonprofits and social entrepreneurs. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful for SCORE and plan to, continue to support them just as they've supported me for many years to come.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lorinda, and thank you to the whole SCORE team for joining us and for their partnership on National Small Business Week. And really appreciate you all joining this important conversation to give an update. I know we wanted to go ahead and move into some really quick Q&A with the team. And so would love to start it out with a conversation and maybe Betsy, hear from you first, just a little bit about what will SCORE be doing to recognize small business owners during Small Business Week, and what is SCORE's role in next week's activities?
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the chance to spotlight everything we're doing for National Small Business Week, because as Morning mentioned, we are partnering with SBA on several days worth of educational webinars that I really encourage everyone to take advantage of. They're totally free, really high quality. We get tons of positive feedback every year on this initiative from small business owners. So please do take advantage. And then the other thing I'll say is that celebrating small businesses is part of what we do every day at SCORE, not just during National Small Business Week. We know that starting a small business is incredibly challenging, but it's also a very exciting time in an entrepreneur's life. And so it's important to really celebrate the success that we're seeing in the American entrepreneurship community, so that we keep each other lifted up and, ready to keep moving forward. So at SCORE, we are always spotlighting small businesses on our website, in our social media, and in our newsletters. There will be special features for National Small Business Week, so everyone can keep an eye out for those. Our CEO, Bridget Weston, will also be participating in CNBC's Small Business Playbook Virtual Summit on May 5th. And then we also have some really exciting resources coming out in May because of National Small Business Week, but also, again, because it is National Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we'll be launching that AAPI Entrepreneurship Hub, which will have all sorts of specialized education and resources and opportunities for AAPI entrepreneurs. So there's a lot going on, again, all accessible through that score.org website. That's where we keep everything up to date and easily accessible. So that is the place to go to reach all of these valuable resources.
Awesome. And I know that we'll do a wrap up of resources at the end. We'll email that out. So Betsy will make sure to include that. And, you know, Lorinda, I wanted to thank you for sharing your story, because it was powerful, the story about how, you know, someone was saying like, oh, maybe you should just like think about, you know, getting a normal job and push yourself to entrepreneurship. I think with that, you know, there's probably a lot of people who are trying to understand, how do I access resources from SCORE? You know, are they free? How do I, you know, and even more than people on this call, I think we find that entrepreneurs and business owners run together, and that's advice. And so, you know, what would you say about how to access SCORE's resources? And maybe what would you say about that little push to really, you know, encourage people to take advantage of something?
So I would say that I totally value the idea of, you know, do I go the traditional job route? Do I go the entrepreneurship route? You know, different people will have different decisions, and it's just as one person may go the university route, one person may go the vocational route. Neither one is better or worse than the other. It's just what aligns with your personal choice. So I think that being able to know that, first of all, there's nothing wrong with going one route or the other, is where you start. And when it comes to SCORE, what I like as well is, in the beginning, that one of the first workshops that they teach is kind of to help you decide which route to go. You know, which is the best route for you, because as Betsy mentioned, you know, to be an entrepreneur, to go this route, it can be difficult. There's a lot that's involved. You have to learn a lot really quickly, and either option may be right for you or not. So when it comes to finding the resources and helping you make that decision for yourself, for your family, because it is a lifelong decision one way or another, the best way, the way that I always started, was honestly on their website. I mean, the SCORE website is so full of information and resources and downloads that now, 15 years later, I still use it. I refer clients to it all the time. I mean, the amount of resources that is on there is so much more than you can imagine. I mean, you can go in there and search, let's say you want to do a business plan, there's templates that you just have to fill out. If you're looking to do finances or projections, all of that is there. So there's so much information on the website. I think it's such an underused and undervalued resource. And the fact that it's free is incredible. And even now, later on down the line in my career, you know, I talk about my business mentors all the time to all other business owners as well. And they're like, oh, wow, it's got to be really expensive. I'm like, no, it's free. It's a free thing. And nobody believes me, from the other small businesses to executives that I work with. They're always very surprised. And honestly, it's a wealth of information available. So I would recommend that someone gets on the website, the national website first, and then from there, go to your local chapter to see what's available for you locally.
Super helpful. And I think, you know, Betsy, to Lorinda's point, and we're going to wrap up this section soon, so I'll give you both the opportunity to share any parting words. But Betsy, before we do that, I mean, there's so much information online. Obviously, you know, can you re-point people to those resources? But what would you also say to people, you know, what are the other resources if folks are overwhelmed by the website, and sort of where to start?
Absolutely. So if people are feeling overwhelmed and like they're not exactly sure where to start, then I would really recommend that they connect with a mentor. Our mentors, like Lorinda right here, are experienced business people who have been there and done that. And they can help you sort through all of the noise of all of the wealth of information out there and really customize for exactly the kind of help that you need as an individual person in your specific part of the country, in your specific area of industry. They really will be there with you to walk you through step by step. And the other point I wanted to call out that Lorinda said that I think is really valuable is that a lot of our clients have more than one SCORE mentor. It is not uncommon for a client to have something of a building block mentor who can help them with those nuts and bolts of startup, those questions that tend to be the same no matter what sort of business you're starting. Things like, what kind of licensure do I need? When is it time to hire my first employee? Would it be beneficial to have an in-person location or to keep things online? But then as you grow and as your business evolves and you end up experiencing more complicated and industry-specific challenges, many clients will add a second mentor at that point who knows their area of industry or their part of the country or their specific challenge very well. And that all continues to be free. And I think, in case people are wondering, you know, this sounds too good to be true. How could this be free? When do I hear about the catch? The reason that it's free is because you have all prepaid for these services with your tax dollars. This is an incredible program that comes to us through the federal government. So please take advantage. You have already paid your entrance fee, and now it's just time to take advantage of these resources and this mentoring. We are here to help.
Awesome. Well, Betsy, I'm going to come back to you for just any closing thoughts, but Lorinda, I did want to give you a stage just to share anything you wanted to share and wrap up before we move to the next session.
Yeah, no, I would just say definitely that SCORE, like Betsy said, it is a free service. We've already contributed to it. Definitely use it. And, you know, it's something, like I said, I feel is very untapped, at least just in my experience. It's a resource that anybody can access, whether it's online, networking with a mentor. And also, like Betsy said, it's great that the mentors will grow with you. And that's what I've really been able to benefit from as well, because where I am now, 15 years later, versus where I was as a college student, you know, an undergrad student, I'm in a different place in my life. I'm in a different place in understanding business, and my mentors have grown with me. And it's pretty incredible because even my original mentor, I still hear from him every now and then. You know, it's a different demographic, different location, and I still hear. So they become part of your family, and they help you feel your business family. And they help you feel like you're not alone on this, you know. And also, just another tidbit is I did not come from a family of business owners. My family were educators. Most of them were teachers. There's nobody in my family that I know of, as far back as I can find, that was a business owner. So I am by far the rogue of the family. So I had no support whatsoever aside from self-study, university, and honestly, what really gave me that support was SCORE. So it's definitely, you know, if you're in that space, you know, try them out. You'll be happily surprised at what they can do to support you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Lauren, and thank you for being here. And Betsy,
Yeah.
I just would love to, you know, hear from you, closing thoughts and sort of a wrap up of resources before we move to the next session of the program.
Absolutely. So again, the place to go for resources and information as our hub is score.org. That score.org website will take you to a button where you can click to find a mentor near you or the kind of mentor that you want online. That's where you'll find access to all of our business educational tools, things like our weekly webinars and our downloadable templates and tools that you can use right in your small business today. That's also where you'll find our Small Business Resilience Hub and our SCORE for All hubs for various communities of entrepreneurs. So that's definitely the place to go. And my final words will be thank you. Thank you to our amazing mentors who are the reason that SCORE continues to do what it does, that we continue to make an impact in the lives of so many people. But also thank you to the entrepreneurs and small business owners on this call. You all are the reason that we continue to do what we do as well. We are inspired by you. We are amazed by you. We believe in your success, and we are here to help you succeed. You don't have to do it alone. There are people here to help. So thanks to everyone, and thanks to Rhett for the opportunity to share this with you today. I really appreciate it.
I want to take you guys to like every webinar. It's like such a great positive feeling, I think, especially as we head into, you know, next week. And it was great to hear from Morning and to be followed by you all who've had also a deep relationship with the U.S. Small Business Administration. So thank you both for being here. And now we're going to transition into some information and updates that we hope will be helpful to small business owners. We heard updates and partner updates. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan, and the Made in America initiative. And I think, you know, each of these opportunities are a great chance for business owners to learn a little bit more about how federal laws trickle down to business owners. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll talk about small businesses and vaccinations as well. So quickly, some of you may be familiar, but just a few months ago, President Biden signed into law the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. It was passed bipartisanly, and he was signed into law on November 15th. And this is one of the largest investments that we'll see in our generations. And obviously, a lot of us thinks about things like roads and bridges, but there is a ton of new investment as well in important things like supply chains and broadbands and our drinking water. This is the largest investment in our nation's infrastructure since 1956. And really what that means for business leaders and small business owners down the line is that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for small businesses as this flows into states and local communities. There's $55 billion in this law to focus on clean water, to make sure that we are eliminating nation's lead service lines and making sure that we're providing healthy water, but obviously that will turn into a lot of job creation opportunities. $65 billion focused on broadband. As we know, increasingly the ability to be online and to have access to digital tools is important for small businesses and entrepreneurs. 110 focused on crumbling roads and bridges. And we know that this is a hugely important investment in communities. We can't underestimate how much physical infrastructure like this plays a role in moving goods and the ability for small business owners to provide services, but also provides equity for communities to be able to access the services they need. And then $90 billion in this law for modernizing public transit. And it actually is the largest investment in the passenger rail service since the creation of Amtrak. So we can go ahead and move to the next slide, but these important vehicles are important to moving consumers and customers, obviously, across the country, which benefits businesses. And it really touches every part of the economy. And that means that small business owners, both our nation's smallest business owners to our more medium-sized business owners will really could stand to benefit. Some ways to think about ways in which, small businesses can plug in. The U.S. Department of Transportation. So this law will actually be implemented by several agencies across the US government. But one of the largest agencies that will be most heavily focused on this will be the US Department of Transportation. And they will award more than $37 billion in federal contracts to small disadvantaged business contractors. So for those of you who are doing business with the federal government in this space, a huge investment there. Investment in transportation infrastructure will go a long way to reducing shipping delays, which we know many of which was a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're starting to see that improve already, but we're hoping this additional funding will provide some of the certainty in the market to be able to do so. We estimate that it will create over 700,000 jobs per year. And we think it will really allow small businesses to be able, who will be able to benefit from this, to be able to hire new employees, to be able to access broadband in new ways that we've talked about. And there'll also be, quite frankly, support at the Minority Business Development Agency. And so we'll talk more about this a little later, but one of the things this important law does is it really elevated the role of the Minority Business Development Agency, which really helps business owners of color who are able to scale their businesses do so more effectively. So next slide, please. Some quick resources that we wanted to point out for small business owners as to where to go, because we know that this is a lot of information and we're just providing an overview today. So the first thing to know is build.gov is a website that's been established by the Biden administration to help small business owners and the general American public better understand what's available, particularly for state and local and tribal governments, which are going to be a key partner in really facilitating the implementation of this law. For those of you who are involved in the energy sector, we encourage you to check out the U.S. Department of Energy's work in this area, including their list of funding opportunities. More will be coming on the way. There has been a large investment in several clean energy programs that will be implemented by several, including DOT. For those of you who are in the transportation sector, looking at the Department of Transportation, the US EPA, as well as the US Department of Interior. So we can move to the next slide, but so many agencies will play a very large role in implementing this law. And so for those of you who are doing work with specific agencies, or maybe seeking to do work with the federal government, beginning to start to consider some of this as an opportunity to work with the government for the first time. I would also encourage folks to be in touch with state and local governments as well, because a large portion of the funding, some of this will happen at the federal level, but there will be a lot of funding that will run through states and local governments and municipalities. And so there will be opportunities for small business owners in those arenas as well. I wanted to briefly touch on the American Rescue Plan, which was passed in 2021 during the height of the pandemic. This was a plan that President Biden signed and Congress passed and we refer to it as ARP and the CARES Act for short. But it's really focused, it was really focused on helping small business owners and consumers survive and really continue to thrive after the COVID, or I should say, while we continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And what it's done is it's done a number of things. One is it provided a number of emergency grants, lending and investments to small businesses who are working hard to rehire and retain workers during this moment. It also distributed quite a bit of funding, about $360 billion in emergency funding to state, local, and tribal governments to make sure that frontline workers were able to stay on during these important moments. It also helped hard-hit public transportation agencies to make sure that they were able to avoid things like layoffs. We can move to the next slide, but I think this large investment was a really important investment to make sure that both American small businesses and workers were able to survive the pandemic. Obviously, this was a unique moment in our nation's history. Things are starting for some small businesses to feel better, like they're coming out of the water, but we know that there's still others. But this law did establish a number of really important programs that we wanted to highlight. The first is a program that the U.S. Small Business Administration is working hard at implementing, which is the Community Navigator program. We know that access to capital and cash is king for small businesses, and small business owners need grants and loans. That's an important part of the process, and we've heard a lot about programs like the Paycheck Protection Program, as well as we've seen a number of corporations and philanthropic partners step up to the table. But we also know that creating the right environment, we heard a lot from our colleagues at SCORE about the importance of mentorship and the importance of service for entrepreneurs. And so what's neat about this new program that was launched under the American Rescue Plan, the Community Navigator, it's a pilot program, so it's something that the government is exploring. And what it does is it allows $100 million, and it gave funding to 51 organizations across the country. And it works in a hub and spoke model and really make sure that entrepreneurs have the support that they need in their communities. The projects were selected across a whole set of diverse communities. And really it's focused on helping entrepreneurs on the ground connect with financial assistance around access to capital, to better understand some of the contracting and procurement opportunities that I was talking about earlier in this presentation, to focus on issues around marketing and operations and business development, and also to do industry-specific training. We can move to the next slide. There is the ability to help locate a community navigator. And what we'll do is we will send out this presentation for the business owners or business organizations who are interested in connecting with the Community Navigator program, and we'll make sure that you have that link. Lastly, on the policy side, I wanted to highlight the Made in America initiative. In January 2021, the Made in America office was codified by the infrastructure law, which we had talked about earlier, which really focuses on helping agencies focus on how we can make sure that more things are made here at home and in America. And I think we can all agree to the important role that that plays. And what this does is it establishes a requirement for agencies to submit different waivers for review to see, what are different flexible ways that agencies can support this goal. And it also created a new website for public transparency, so the public could see, what exactly is being made in America. What does that look like? That's currently, there's been guidance issued, which means that the federal government has put out sort of the way that it's beginning to think about it, and we'll see more on that. But for those of you who are interested in doing, business with the U.S. government, there are several sort of open door strategies. Of course, we have this amazing partnership with the US SBA. We encourage folks to start there. There's also sam.gov, which is a really important part of the process. And there's also the General Services Administration. So we can go to the next slide. So as we're thinking about Made in America, for those of you who might be interested in that, we encourage you to visit madeinamerica.gov. Lastly, as we're kind of wrapping up things, and I see some questions coming into the chat, I did want to provide some updates as it relates to how small business owners can show up and be leaders in their communities as it relates to vaccinations. Obviously, as we continue to see the economy come back from COVID-19, we continue to see that, quite frankly, the economy is trying to figure out how to better understand how we're going to work in this environment with COVID-19 sort of existing. And while vaccination numbers have been high, as folks have continued to sort of stop being involved with shelter in place and move to getting outside and doing more business, we have to be mindful about the important role that vaccinations can play. One of the things that we really believe is that small business owners are trusted leaders in their communities. People turn to business owners and business leaders for information and advice all the time. And we've seen in a lot of research that small business owners can play a vital role in helping to make sure that there's solid information about vaccinations. So we wanted to encourage folks to better understand some resources. We'll link them here in the presentation. There is a COVID plan that's been laid out by the White House and the Biden administration. You can visit that at whitehouse.gov/COVID plan to get more information about this. And we can move to the next slide. So just reflecting a little bit on, what can you do as a small employer? One big piece would be to educate yourself, as we've sort of talked about already. The second piece would be to create a vaccination plan for your business. There are a lot of tools out there at the state and local level. We encourage folks to think about maybe what incentives make sense, such as there's a new paid leave tax credit that's available for small business owners who want to give their employees time off to get the vaccine shot, which we've seen has been really effective. If you live in a disproportionately impacted area by COVID-19, HRSA, which is the Health Resource and Services Administration, and sits under the Department of Health and Human Services, actually has a program that can provide some greater assistance. So making sure that we're providing the ability for everyone to have access to vaccinations is going to be really important. And whether you make as a decision to, incentivize your employees getting vaccines or not, we encourage you to communicate your plans with your employees and the community, both in verbally and writing, so that employees understand in the community where you are. And then we also, we know that there's a lot of information coming. This is a new challenge for us as a society, and we haven't faced a challenge with a public health crisis like this in a long time. So information is obviously coming very fast. And so it's another thing as an employer that it's important to just stay top of mind of. And so we wanted to make sure that you had some resources here. We encourage employers to be in touch with the Center on Disease Control around vaccination toolkits, as well as they have a number of campaign and resource toolkits. They've established a website at the Department of Health and Human Services, wecandothis.hhs.gov. And we can move to the next slide. But under that, you'll see a number of tools and resources that are really focused on helping small employers in particular figure out how they can be helpful to their employers and their communities as it relates to vaccinations. Finally, I just wanted to close by talking a little bit about how you can be in touch if you're interested. If you have questions that we weren't able to get to today, or questions directly from the US SBA, we encourage you to email them to answerdesk@sba.gov. That is the best way in this moment of getting your questions answered. Although we do keep track of the questions that we receive during the chats of these webinars, and we continue to update the information to make sure that it is included. And then finally, if you have any questions about this webinar, or you want a copy of this webinar, we encourage you to email our team at events@publicprivatestrategies.com. Next slide, please. And with that, I just want to thank everyone so much for joining. We look forward to being in touch. Again, these webinars happen every 2 weeks. We bring on new leaders, both from the policy side to give relevant policy updates. We also bring on new community partners as well to help share information about what they're doing. Today, we were honored to be able to highlight SCORE, but we'll have additional partners in the weeks. And everyone who attended today's presentation will get a follow-up email. We'll include a link to the slide deck, and we'll also make sure that you know about the event that's coming up in 2 weeks. With that, thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. This will now conclude the webinar.